Do I feel like it's all working and I have momentum? Yes and no. Like, some of the pieces have been sacrificed recently, most notably more on the personal side with relationship and just around with the kids and stuff. I feel like I've spent too much time on the business. And I just became self-aware to it this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
like
you really self-aware, where I really paid attention to it.
What happened?
I got called out. By Danielle.
Yeah.
And my wife.
Oh, nice.
And it was really,
it's like it's a party, but you weren't invited to it. It's good.
Yeah. Well, I'll just speak vulnerably and honestly about it, man. I got called, and let me rephrase that. I didn't get called out. I got called up. Because it wasn't you suck at all these things. It was this, and this, this business that you're creating, this alignments of ensuring that you can easily transition into Costa Rica and build this life that you've always dreamed of. You're doing exceptional at that, but you're still sacrificing these other things here. You're average in those. You're average in your presence with your kids. You're average in your connection in your relationship. And it's not an easy pill to swallow when you get that feedback, But
well, it's also because then you're thinking of your progress and you're like, is this bittersweet progress?
Yeah.
And by the way, that feeling sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that, but
yeah. Well, I'll just say one more thing. And it was these moments, which is why it's always perfectly divinely timed that you and I are talking, having this conversation even too. But so my default initially is kind of like, well, that kind of hurts to hear that. And then a little bit of like, well, defensiveness and frustration and that type of thing. And then a grounding of like, oh shit, they're kind of right, And then I default back to what my seeking from the start was, which was, why can't I have everything? How can I have everything? And I'm still on this journey and I will solve it. And I ultimately believe I know the answer too. It's to just truly follow what's on my heart and make sure that I'm making time for what's important, which is taking care of me, but then also just being present with those things that are around me in those concentric circles and giving them my focused energy, which is plentiful. Like we said, it's limitless. It really is. I've long thought that it was limited, but I really do believe that it's limitless. And that's, I think, an important piece that I believe you understand is some people might look at you and go, oh man, that guy's all over the place and there's only so much to give. And you're like, no, man, I'm just like, I radiate energy. And when I need more, I crave more. And I resonate with that. That's how I feel. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, this is good. And I have been called out by, my partner recently in a similar fashion. And so another thing, I'm going to tap into 3 different pieces here and we'll get to some juicy stuff. So I was just talking to an individual and it was kind of in a coaching capacity and they were stuck. This person was kind of a little stuck and talking about how I should get to this level by now and I have all of this expertise but it's not working because of this or this and it's fine. But then they were like, when we were even scheduling another call, it was like, well, I can't do that call because my kids, but then business, but then I'll do the business, I'll do this. But it was like, there was already a dichotomy in their head of like, the kids are ruining business and business is ruining the kids. So that's a very common paradigm that is a shitty paradigm. Like I always like to be like, like in the same way with the pinball thing. I'm like, pinball wizard, baby. And like with the paradigm of like business, or it's just, I believe you can have it all. Like my theme for this year is coalescence, where it's like all these things coming together. But what does that mean? So
I love that.
Gotta give credit where credit's due. My friend Denise Gosnell, who's creating this or has created this methodology called the vacation effect. We'd been working together a little bit, and a lot of it has to do with, there's a story that like once you're really successful as an entrepreneur and you've grown your business, then you can finally take that vacation you've always wanted. And what ends up happening is you're actually creating a hamster wheel And sometimes it's a bigger hamster wheel, but it's still a hamster wheel, and you forget. I say, like, when you're creating a business, you're either creating a prison or you're creating a castle. And so then it becomes like you're better off actually creating these unreasonable rules for yourself at first, and then having like the ecosystem of the organization grow around that. Because otherwise, the roots are just formed with you. And so it's like, if you're used to being stressed, which you've talked about a bunch before, how like, you and I both have a pattern of workaholism that we're like unlearning, where it's together in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you create these rules to have more spaciousness and freedom? So the experiment that I've been slowly but steadily starting is not having calls on Mondays and Fridays. And the reason for that is spaciousness. And they even say, like, you having openness to receive is when you actually receive things, because there's a spot for it. If everything's so filled up and connected, there's no space to receive, and there's no space to be present. You were mentioning with you and your family, it's like you're doing all the right things, with the one exception of you haven't given yourself space to be present. Because when you're present, you are naturally aware of all the different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And
go ahead. The last point here is I've been starting to not have calls on Mondays and Fridays. And literally just this past Monday, like, I was on a plane, I didn't have a call, and there was spaciousness in that day. And I just took that time to journal and think, like, what do I want to receive, whatever else? And then they say, when you're aligned, the universe works quickly. Like, I got off the plane, I had gotten 2 messages on the plane for these new opportunities that weeks ago I was struggling to like create them. And then it's like they found me because I was the antenna. I was like the right antenna finally to like receive it. So anyway, just wanted to express that because it's fresh in my head.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch the full unedited episode, go ahead and click over here. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. Thanks so much.